So let me start with it's 2:04. We have a little over 30 participants, 31. There you go. So not to keep anybody waiting. Um, we're into this 12 weeks. 12 weeks later, a few pounds heavier. But for me personally, I'm going to tell you in a second because I'm getting people that can't get in. For me personally, I've actually, not that I've made any money, but the conversations that I have had with you guys has been unbelievable. Like, normally it's, hey, what's your budget? Here's my shows. And we end our discussion. And the conversations have been personal, touching, emotional, hopefully supportive. Just in the last 2 weeks, so many of my people out there have gotten PPPs with my help, because I am a huge researcher and a real advocate to be proactive, as you see, because that's why I'm doing these. Last week I didn't do a Zoom because I didn't have time, because I was helping a lot of industry people get PPs, helping them with venue guidelines, sharing some of the things I've learned, and also getting to know people. I had a conversation yesterday with one client who I never had who books a lot of shows from me. And yesterday was the first time we actually had a real heart-to-heart conversation about her grandkids and my grandkids. It was wonderful. So last week and this week has been on the phone helping people through various emotional times as well. So I can complain and I can be upset, but I've really enjoyed getting to know everybody. And last week, after the 80-person Zoom, we were on for 75 minutes. And I just said, if anybody else wants to stay on, you can stay on. We ended the Zoom, people started going, and then there were about a dozen of us left when the Zoom ended, just so I didn't keep people on forever. And we all had personal conversation. And then it ended up about 6 of us having personal conversation, and then later on different people by phone. So I have found that the industry is really pulled together, and I love it. I'm very, very happy. And like I said in other Zooms, I plan on making Zoom part of my company in the future in booking. So in all discussions, in block booking, in marketing, personal conversations. I doubt I will do a weekly Zoom for the rest of my life. But doing it now and last week, I got so many phone calls, Wendy, where's the Zoom? Why aren't we doing the Zoom this week? So I apologize to those who really wanted to do the Zoom. The one part that I am a tad that I would like and request from people is to participate a little more, because I don't want to be the only one speaking. We have had a lot of participation, but more. Send in topics so I can research them. What I have been doing, in addition to what I just told everybody I've been doing and why I didn't have last week, is research, and more research. One of our topics was on the thermal imaging. I presented everybody some paperwork, been talking to a lot of people about the thermal imaging, and you could talk to the company directly. So I'm just doing certain things to help you guys uh, open up safely and all the different ideas that have been thrown at me. So hopefully, if you are interested in the thermal imaging, you are able to have that conversation. If you need to discuss it with me, or if you have any questions about it, my phone lines are pretty much always open. So that's the thermal imaging. The next topic I've been researching was the live streaming, which I'd like to have some conversation here about the live streaming. And that's the beginning. The first week was about live streaming, and probably about 60% of the people were not interested. And I think I'm going to send a new survey out next week for the new questions that I have to try to share the answers with you. So if 60% weren't interested the first week, but now it's 12 weeks later, so live streaming, I probably got 6 or 7 people, and I can't present one live stream to you today that I like, because I've been researching 6 or 7 different live streams. The different platforms I can mention to you have been Twitch, Zoom, which I don't recommend except for this type of a setting. I don't recommend for live streaming. I have a meeting with Vimeo, and when I get the information from Vimeo, I will let you know. But there is so many different platforms that are coming out, and different people that are presenting to me, hey, get the industry involved, and it's going to be a bulk rate, and this is what we do. So I am not an expert yet, and if by all means, if anybody wants to talk about their experiences with different platforms, I think it is important to talk about. So, there is, in the bottom, there's a chat room, and you can say, Wendy, I have an experience. And there's also a way, I think, to raise your hand. And so I'm not sure how to do that, or just,
Wendy, at the bottom, there's a little box that says participants.
Yep.
And if you click on that, you'll see everybody there. You'll see yourself, and there's a way, you'll see at the bottom of all of the names of people, you'll see it'll say raise hand.
Okay. There you go. So I'll just keep flipping through that. And if I see you raise your hand, great. But like Steve just did, if you want to unmute yourself one at a time, that'd be great. So I'd like to talk about the live streaming experiences that you've had. But our main topic and our first topic is about reopening. Although we've talked about it a few times, we're closer to many people that have reopened, and those that are just about to reopen, which has been really cool. Some of the people I've talked to have reopened. I don't know if Jessica's on here yet.
I'm here.
Great. Jessica, you want to talk about your what you and I've been talking about together?
So in Georgia, performing arts centers aren't allowed to reopen yet. So we kind of found a loophole so we can get the arts out there. We are doing a new series called 6 Feet a Pod. So we've created these pods drawn out on a large field that we have in front of one of our facilities. And they're 12 by 12s. Guests are able to reserve a pod for up to 6 people that they've been socially distancing with. And we are putting local artists that are affordable right now on that stage, while we figure out how to purchase a stage trailer that will allow us to bring in larger bands and what we normally book with you, Wendy, the bigger stuff. So we're starting that on June 16th. We've got a lot of interest. Our Facebook post actually had over 4,200 interactions, which is the largest we've had.
Wow.
People are really interested, and we live in a city of 800 people. So we're really excited about giving this one a try and moving everything to outdoors. We're hearing that about 80% of people would be comfortable coming back if it were an outdoor space. So we're looking at any option to move everything outdoors until we're allowed to be back in our space again.
That's really cool. That's very interesting. Is Sabrina out here somewhere? Sabrina, would you unmute yourself and tell us about the New Mexico Fair?
So we have not, hi everybody, Sabrina.
Hi, Sabrina.
We have not been able to open up yet. We are working closely with our state governor for that.
Okay.
But we do have outdoor venues. We have submitted some proposals to hopefully get the go-ahead. But overall, as a state, they're still not allowing gatherings of 10 or more. So
Okay.
we're kind of behind.
What phase are you in?
We're barely on phase 1.
Okay.
So restaurants just opened at 50% capacity. Salons just opened, malls just opened at 25%. So we're still behind, but we're definitely
And when is the, so right now you haven't canceled anything, you're just.
No, haven't canceled. We're hoping to get word by July 1st. That's a hope.
And when are your dates?
September 10th through the 20th.
Okay. So a lot of my September shows are still playing. I do have a West Coast tour that, because it's in the LA County area and the governor said no, we did move my West Coast tour to April 2021. So I think we have a question for, let's see here. We have a question for Jessica. Are you charging per person or per pod?
We're charging per pod right now because, again, we're in a small city and we're not really sure how many people are going to come out. So right now it's $20 per pod, which isn't very much money for us. We're looking at maybe $1,000 for the first night. We have some food trucks that are lined up and they're doing kickbacks. So if they make over $500, they'll give a kickback to us as well. So we're working as a community to make this happen. Our intention is to add more pods as we see where the space is and how many people are coming. And then we're also encouraging people to give donations and a tip jar via Venmo and other cash apps for the artist that's performing. We would love to get a bigger band out there, like I said, and when we get to that portion, we'll have to consider charging per person so that we actually can break even, if not try to be in the black a little bit. We are a non-profit, but we're not for loss.
There you go. I hear you. Next question is about the drive-in format, which a lot of people are doing. Is there anybody that can speak to the drive-in format?
Yes, this is Reggie. How you doing, Wendy?
Yeah, I'm waiting for
All
you for the
right.
drive-in format.
Well, the driving, I have done personally, I went to a shopping center parking lot that holds probably about 600 cars. And what I've done is talk to some of the establishments in that shopping center. And what they did, they allowed me to actually use the parking lot as a drive-in theater type. Set a stage on one end, and the shopping center can hold probably about 600 cars. So what I did was block one entrance off and use the other entrance as the go out entrance. And I charge $10 a car, don't matter how many people's in your car, and put a shot there. And I have sold out last week. I had 640 cars to people. The problem I'm having is people cannot come in and then all of a sudden they go park somewhere else and walk in. That was the issue that I got to kind of like work out. But the drive-in portion is actually working. So you can talk to a shopping center that will let you, park the car at like a drive-in theater.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Very,
work for me.
yeah.
Hey, Reg,
Yes.
how did you handle the facilities as far as, porta potties or whatever, or and also any concessions?
Yes, most of the shopping center I use have probably about four shopping restaurants. And what the restaurant did is came out, set out tables, and they did not allow any outdoor vending and the outside vending. So so what they did was people stayed in their cars. Some people got out in their chairs and sit next to their cars. And what they did was the other stores that was there, they stayed open because people still came in wearing their masks to shop, or even to, like, one of them is a furniture store. People still came in the furniture store to look around and came back out to their cars and sat and watched the event. And a lot of the vendors, where the restaurants in that shopping center, a lot of them made about $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 in
Wow.
selling merchandise and food. And I didn't have to worry about the social distancing, because when you go to a Walmart or anything else, you park your car next to each other. So that's the same thing in the shopping center. People's parking their cars like they was going into the shopping center. And a lot of people was opening up the back of their cars and sitting in their cars and just enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
And you do $10 a car.
Reggie, was it a local artist?
Who?
What kind of artist was it?
Yeah, it was a jazz. I had some of the local jazz artists, and I paid them $300.
Yeah,
And
right.
I did it from 7 o'clock to 9:30, and that was it.
Right.
7 o'clock to 9:30.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, and it worked for me, and I'm doing it again this weekend.
Great.
Are they letting you actually keep your stage up, or do you have to take it down every time?
I can leave it up because where I have it at is like in a grass area, right behind where all the parking there is, a grassy area, and I have the stage in the grassy area. And then I took barricades and kind of like put it in front of the stage, letting people know they can't park in this. About 10 spaces is what I use, 10 to 12 spaces.
And sound system, or are you doing it through FM?
I have my own sound system.
Okay.
Yeah, I have my own sound system. And I just took my sound system, and right now, I didn't have a front of house guy because of the fact that now they're using these little hand pods that they can adjust sound and walk around and adjust it, and don't need no front of house board. And that's what, that's basically what I use.
Yeah, those
so
are
I don't
amazing
have a front of
systems.
house.
They're amazing systems.
Yes.
Yes.
And believe it or not, my problem was, and the police told me my problem is, a lot of people was walking in when I could not accept any more cars. After 550 cars, I couldn't accept any more. So other cars was parking other places and walking in. And
Mm-hmm.
that was an issue that I'm having, that I'm gonna have to address.
Right. As Chuck has said, that it's also being done in Buffalo and
Okay.
Akias. Chuck, I don't know who they are, just sold out 2 shows. So the driving,
Yes.
right? Is that a local band, Chuck? Chuck? Okay.
Yeah, that's Aqueous. They're a national level jam band,
Okay.
miniature Grateful Dead, if you were, for the new age.
And when you say
But
sold out 2 shows, how many would you say?
I know that David, I have some details about this particular drive-in because my boss, David Fillenworth, has been in negotiation to do a national show there as well.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding was that the drive-in would hold 600 cars. I believe that they were limiting it this time to approximately 300 cars. It was a fairly expensive ticket and sold out in about an hour.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
There were some front row spaces that were available on a VIP basis
Mm-hmm.
that were sold out in 5 minutes.
Wow.
But the average ticket price on that was $80 per car.
Who was the band?
Very nice.
It's at the Transit Drive-In in Buffalo, New York. The owner there, Rick Cohen, has been in negotiation with a bunch of different promoters to do this prior to the national scale movies being re-released, supposedly in late June. But again, on June 19 and 20, Aqueous is doing 2 back-to-back sold out high dollar ticket shows, which only indicates to us that there really is a big market that wants to be back in the middle of live music as soon as we can reasonably do it safely.
Is,
Very cool.
can I just ask a question?
Yes, Alita.
I'm calling from Vermont. We have 386 seats. Vermont has just opened. Am I echoing?
Yeah.
We can go to 25%. And I'm just curious, are there any smaller venues like us on this call?
Looking around,
Steve.
it's.
I have 350 seats at my venue.
Oh, good. So we're gonna try to open the movie theater, but we have no money. And do you guys have an issue with income? We've had no income since March. So actually paying for artists, we're not in that place. Anybody dealing with that?
Most of the people here, I think, have bigger venues, and there's been a lot of rescheduling.
Hi, Wendy.
But, yes.
Hey, I'm Kim Ryder. I'm from the Wayne Theater down in Waynesboro.
Hey, how are you?
So Tracy says, hey.
Hey to Tracy.
So yeah, we are a house of 389 as well. So we're right in that ballpark. And like a lot of places, we've been doing live streams. So in terms of Zoom live streams, we're interviewing cast members that we've had for shows and some local talent, and just trying to stay connected with our community. So, and it's brought in a little money, you know, it's definitely a struggle for sure, but it is something to stay connected and a lot of fun to participate in. I am super intrigued by some of these outdoor ideas that are happening. So I'm going to be in touch with some of you folks to discuss that further, Jessica, especially. That sounds so great. We are also considering literal drive-in with movies, because like many of you, we do present movies as well, and don't have a soul in our place at the moment. My big question on that is, because I can't wrap my marginally technical head around the sound portion of that, and how you get the frequency and make that all happen for your guests over the radio or whatever.
Yeah, Kim,
We need an antenna, an FM antenna, and you can run it through the radio. But you have the question outside of whether you have a digital projector so you can get features, or you just run Blu-rays.
I think she may be talking about, like in the old days, we had the speakers that we used to put on the windows, when, for those of you who remember that.
I do.
I do.
Now there's a method of doing it so that you could run it through your
Radio.
FM station, and I'm not quite sure how that's done myself, or what the sound quality is, obviously, compared to having real speakers like what Reggie's doing.
With an FM antenna, you can have good sound through your radio.
But what are you using as a means of projecting that sound over the, what type of piece of equipment?
Right.
It's an antenna, and you dial it in to your radio station, and it projects in the car.
So how do you get that radio station, I guess, is the point.
So you have to purchase an FM transmitter.
Yep.
Okay.
If you just do a Google search for FM transmitters, they come in a lot of different powers. 1.5 watt transmitters, and those will let you transmit to about a 9 square block radius.
What was that again? You broke up there for a second. What was the power?
It's like a 1.5 watt. And you get about 9 square blocks out of that. And we're looking into doing some community outreach using one of these. And right now, I couldn't answer any questions regarding the FCC. I mean, it's a low power device. So you're, you know, in the past when we've used it, we haven't really, we haven't reached out to the FCC. But I think as long as you're not interfering.
Nah, don't reach out yet.
Yeah, right. I think as long as you're not interfering with like your
Yeah.
local radio stations. So what you want to do is you'll just kind of want to scan your FM frequencies in your area and kind of find a hole, find a blank spot. And then you can be able, your FM transmitter, you can tune that to that frequency or in that range. And then, you know, just find a place where you're not going to be stepping on somebody else. And then that helps. So if you have like large fields, it's an interesting way to approach it. We're also thinking about doing something like that internally in our theater. My sound engineer and I have for years wanted to present a live music show to where you're mixing for headphones and for the audience and not mixing for sound for the room. Just as kind of as an experiment, as an interesting thing. So with the pandemic that happened, we've been talking a lot more about that as kind of a novel way to present an act. It'll certainly be a lot easier on the sound engineer and the monitor engineer for sure. You don't have all those live frequencies in the room. But anyway, that's just when if you're looking for something like that, you don't need a very powerful one. I think you can get them. They're going to range in price, those FM transmitters, anywhere from $200 to $2,000, depending on what kind of power and what kind of range you want.
Right.
I just use a land array system myself. Just put a land array system in, 2 stacks per side, and didn't have a problem hearing at all.
Right.
Reggie,
right,
it would be
yeah.
nice if you would send me some tech details, and I'll get it out to
Okay.
everybody. That'd be really nice.
Yeah,
And Todd,
That'd be awesome.
Yep,
would
2
you
land array
introduce
systems.
yourself so people know who you are?
Sure. I'm Todd Birdsong. I'm in Paducah, Kentucky, where the Ohio and the Mississippi meet. My venue's on the smaller side. It's 472. The venue's at a community college in the state of Kentucky. So we're part of a 16 college system.
Is Ed White?
Hi,
Ed Whitehead?
in New York, we
Hi, yes.
I'll be right with you, Ed. Go ahead, Kelly.
sorry. We in New York, they've had the headphone technology for a few years now. There's a lot of like family events that have done that. And there's a bunch of companies and they've been very successful with it and they work really, really well. It's a very cool thing to see everybody kind of bopping around when no one can hear music except inside your own head.
Right.
But it's fun.
Cool.
You dropped out a bit. Can you explain that? I missed a few of the words.
Kelly?
She
I
dropped
was
out.
saying, Alita, in New York, there are a handful of companies that for a few years now have been successful in what it's being called out here is silent disco, because they're more family-oriented events. And all the headphones are full coverage headphones, not earbuds. And they have 2 or 3 channels. And there's generally 2 or 3 DJs playing in this scenario at each event. So you just tune into the channel you want to hear. And you're basically dancing in a room with other people or singing along, but it's completely silent. So it's a really cool concept. And, technically from that end, it doesn't look terribly difficult. It's all about the gear and all the hardware for it more than anything. So it could be a very cool outdoor situation if you have the space for 2 or 3 local acts at opposite sides of the, the parking lot or the park or whatever, and people have the opportunity to listen to all 3 of them throughout the time frame.
Yeah.
And those companies travel and they rent the gear and they help you produce it as well. It's very cool.
Kelly, let's get that information on a one sheet and get that out to people. I will say I'm having like a major storm here coming through. If like the first Zoom I get knocked off, talk amongst yourselves, I'll get back on at some point. but we're all, that's what I'd like to see happen.
Kelly,
Elita, relative to your comment earlier about not having money to pay artists, what Jessica is doing, of course, is using local artists. And I'm sure that you're going to find that even in your regional artists, they're going to be really interested in working with you on developing a way to share the wealth. Right now, there's so
I would agree. Our artists aren't ready to perform together, and the state is really closing the border in terms of people coming in. So we can't even use regional artists because they have to quarantine.
Right.
So we've got a challenge through this summer.
Yeah, which a lot of people do have. I'm going to call on Ed Whitehead, please.
Yes, hey.
How you doing, Ed?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Very good. I know your question is a question that I get pretty much every day.
Sure.
As Ed said, you know, we all want to know when it's safe. Do we cancel September, October, November, December? Do we schedule some stuff into December? I think a lot of that has to do with our agents working with you. So as I shared my COVID clause with everybody in the beginning, I'll share it again if anybody needs it, and I've moved shows from April to June, July, and then I moved them again till September. And if I have to move them again, I'm going to move them again. So it's up to the agent that you're working with, the artist that you're working with. And we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it could come back. It may not come back. Only time will tell. I do say to people, look, you know, we all need to make money. If it does come back, they're doing a lot of spot checks and they're going to fix it. People still want to go out. I'm finding a lot of people want to go out. So I would book with the knowledge and a caveat on your contract that says, and I could pull up my clause, but basically it says, you know, if we want to reschedule, if the artist or the venue want to reschedule due to COVID, lack of ticket sales, due to COVID, we're going to move. You know, to me, any agent or artist that says no, you know, knowing that there's a breakout or knowing that, you know, you guys as presenters and buyers are hurting, you know, not to work with them again. That's how I feel.
Yeah, my issue is that I'm doing Miracle on 34th Street, so I can't move it to June or July. You know, it has to be December, or November, December, or nothing. And I'm having some venues who say, you are coming, right? You're coming, right? And I say, I hope so. And I have other venues who are saying, we don't feel good, so we're going to cancel, you know, and that's fine. It's just, you know, it's not having that knowledge of what the future holds, which is pretty difficult.
Yeah. I have a tour in September, and because 2 of the venues are going to drop out, that means I have to cancel the tour because it was based on the pricing I can't do without the 2 venues.
Sure.
So I'm going to move it. I suggest holding out as long as you possibly can and talking to the producer agent about holding a date in December 2021.
Right.
That's what I would do. Yeah.
We're producing a show. Sorry. We were supposed to do Elf the Musical in December, and I was really pleased that MTI refunded our $9,000 license. I don't know if anybody else is doing their own productions, but I was really amazed that they would give that money back to us.
Well,
you should be amazed. I personally have given money back. I, of course, jump through hoops and beg up and down to please reschedule rather than cancel. That's the way of the world is to ask to reschedule. If I'm going to work with you, reschedule, even multiple times rescheduling. Please try to reschedule. It gives us hope as agents. It gives the artists hope. So to try to reschedule and not cancel. But I have returned dollars and cents. Hannah? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm from Tahlequah, Oklahoma. I'm with the university. And one thing I've done is I have gone ahead and set tentative dates for the next performing art series that we have. That way, for those that don't feel comfortable right now, but we're still not sure, you know, yes, we're going to continue. No, we're not going, you know, since there is that uncertainty, we went ahead and set those tentative dates for the next year. That way, at least, I still know I have a show eventually. So that might be something to think about.
Right, absolutely.
Wendy?
Hold on one second, please.
All right.
And if we can, I'm gonna have to go through and lower, mute some people until you're called upon. That would be, please do that because we're getting a lot of feedback, please. I'm gonna mute some people so we don't get the feedback like we're getting. And a lot of people have asked me for the COVID clause, so I'm gonna send it in the chat room to everyone now. There we go. There you go. And if you would go ahead and let me just go through some of these questions. Okay, and if you want to raise your hand and ask a question, please do that so there's no multiple people speaking. Appreciate that. Stephen Yu, if you would say hello.
Hey, everybody. So Steve Cooper, I'm in Milford, Connecticut. I run the Milford Performance Center. We're a 900-seat room. So we're not really big, we're not really small, but the word is coming down that sometime probably closer to July or August is when the state is going to allow reopening of theaters of art type. However, right now, it sounds like with social distancing and possibly masks, I can't see anybody sitting for 3 hours or 2.5 hours with a mask on, especially the demographic for many of my shows is about 50 to 70 years old, you know, with classic rock acts or, you know, or oldies or Sinatra or whatever. So that is going to be a little test, but the social distancing literally is going to take a 900-seat room and turn it into about a 210-seat room. And for any of the big names that we would have coming in, it's just not economically feasible to be able to run the show. It's one thing breaking even, it's one thing losing a little bit. You're talking about losing a bunch. And having people that normally would be buying front row seats maybe sitting in the back because of all the social distancing and lack of seats, if they want to come out at all because they're still nervous. So it's strange. I mean, I saw some of this coming real early. By the second week in March, I had rescheduled everything for starting in September. We're closed. I generally close over the summer anyway, because it's hard to compete with free. And where I am, I don't know about where you guys are, there are so many free concerts on the town green and what have you that you can't compete with free. So, but now I've got bands that we're going to be on tour across the country that don't want to go in and out of the hot spots, and they're older, you know, some of the name bands, that they just don't want to, you know, put themselves in danger. And then, you know, from our perspective, if they do, are they putting our people in danger? You know, from what I've heard, they're not going to allow meet and greets and stuff like that. And sometimes the meet and greets are what, like in the jazz community, you know, the jazz crowds love the meet and greets with, you know, with the name brand guys. And so that's difficult. Or you bring in somebody like, Carmine Appice, the drummer, and his brother doing Drum Wars, which was a phenomenal show, but everybody wanted to meet them and say hello. And, so it's tough. I mean, we're starting to reschedule now some bands for the second time. So,
Oh yeah, I mean, there's been people that have been rescheduling for a second, third, fourth time, and that is why I ask people, don't be afraid to book, because your agent should rebook, okay, with you. In the same vein, Stephen, you, about the house in Georgia, would you say hello to us?
I would say hello. Thank you. Coming from a different side of the coin, there are a lot of venue people here. I produce a one-woman show. We have a booking in Carrollton, Georgia, outside of Atlanta, in an 1,100-seat house scheduled for September 17. I got an email from the presenter on Monday saying that they've been cleared, they're good to go. Are we? And I responded by asking, because my actor, it's a one-woman show, is 71 years old, asking what the backstage and booth protocols are in the venue, what the protocols are at the hotel where they propose to house us. I've heard nothing. Those of you who have venues and want to welcome us as artists in, can you respond to that, please?
I'm going to let some people respond, but I'm also going to let you, I don't know if you've opened up the APAP venue guide. I don't know if you've opened up the Event Alliance. And so most venues now are combining their personal house venue guides with following the protocols from the Event Alliance guide. Two guides that are, I hope everybody agrees, they're absolutely, right, fantastic.
Fabulous.
They did a wonderful, wonderful job. They should be like, but the venues do have to take those two things. If I book a Fairy Tales on Ice show, I don't know if anybody got my e-blast today, actually right before this meeting. We have our own venue guide. So the actual, my shows will all have that we're gonna be safe because there's 14 of us. And what we're doing to keep your venue safe, and we're requesting with the incoming offers and incoming dates, we're requesting your venue guide to us. So everybody, for now, until this all goes away and we don't have to talk about it, and it will be sooner than later, I really feel that way, they have to make venue guides. So if anybody wants to share their venue guide as requested by Stephen, you can either email it to me and I could share it to everybody, or you could speak about it if you're not shy.
I raised my hand, but I'll just go ahead and real quick. We have created a list of protocols for the Fellaini that includes pre-performance, during performance, and post-performance, and it's basically a checklist that we have to go through. We also purchased 5 new hand sanitizer stations to locate throughout the building. We are not doing printed programs this year so that we can avoid that contact with our ushers and the guests. We're putting in digital flat panel TVs in multiple locations to have the program scrolled, and we're emailing it before the performance. We have temperature, stations, so we can check temperatures of people. A lot of our people are older, like other venues. We purchase masks for all of them, so if they want to come to a performance, they don't have a mask, we can provide that. I could email you a list of what we have and what we already have planned.
Yeah, send me that and I'll send it to everybody. Yeah, definitely.
We care about the artists just like we care about ourselves, so you're not alone, trust me.
Right. In my survey that I'm going to do this week to everybody, and I appreciate those that go ahead and answer the questions, I'm going to be asking who's doing temperature checks, because that's an important question is, are you doing them? I have some venues that said, I'm not opening if I have to do them. And one of the reasons why I researched the global S2 Global is so that you guys would have that information if you want to work with them. Not that they're the only company, but just so you had options. But some of my venues are doing the temperature checks. Some are just doing the thermal. Some are not doing them. So if you want to share if you are doing temperature checks or not, please share with us either here or again, I'm going to send out a survey so I can share the results as I did with our first survey. I'm going to take that first survey and I'm going to expand upon that that survey and ask everybody their questions. Because that's the thermal has been a big question. The masks have been a big question. Sometime this week, as you know, I do research. I'm going to be getting a contract with a humongous company for the music industry that I work with, whomever. I'm going to put it out there to everybody, as I always do, to buy at a good price volumes of PPE, not just the paper masks, not just, N95s, like really good grade PPE. When I get that, I will send you guys, as I always do, share with you the email and the company, where to buy it, and hopefully it's going to be some good product until you guys don't need that anymore. So.
Wendy, sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Along those lines, I'll send you an email.
Please.
One of my closest friends just imported the KN95s, the level 1 surgical mask, the blue ones you see everybody that sort of unfold.
Yeah.
Those he's selling for, I think it was $685 for 2,500, which is like 30 cents a mask, which you don't see. And he also has the plastic shields.
Yeah.
I will put you in touch. I know.
Send me that information. This is going to be more of a.
Yeah, Ron and Esty's buying them, and they drop ship them. That $685 is drop ship.
Yeah, that's what mine will be similar to that. When I get that information, you can compare it, and I'll let you know. Everybody's out there looking for pricing on PPP. Everybody. I like this morning, I got 7 different emails from live stream companies that I should present to you about, all the live streams. But the only time I'll present something to you is if I would use it myself. And so as I get stuff, as you know, I'm going to share it with you. Our venue is over 100 years old. Curious if anyone is worried about air circulation. People tell me that the AC can that stuff, I would ask Google your states, look at your guidelines. There are a lot of people doing things about that. Even in my own home, I went and bought, they're this big by this big, and I'll get the name for you if you're interested. And they're air purifiers and made with the blue light. I forget if that's the exact name for the air purifiers. And they told me to plug it in the wall, leave the house, come back 15 minutes later. I said, yeah, this is kind of bull. And the UPS man is here, so this dog is going to go nuts. 15 minutes I left. I came back. It was unbelievable different. I was completely shocked. So I highly recommend whatever you can do to make your audiences more comfortable, because you can put it out there. Hey, we did this. We have masks for you. Hey, we have air purifier. Hey, we have venue guidelines. So I think that's the key, is to make your people feel comfortable. Hey, I left. Sorry. Whoop, she's mad. Anyone else can speak to that, the air purification?
Wendy, Chuck Angelina from the Riviera Theater, North Carolina.
Hey, Chuck.
Hi. I just want to offer a perspective that I've been trying to champion for probably about a month now. To be honest, it's not getting a lot of traction, but living in New York State.
Mhm.
I can tell you that this is going to be the most oppressive atmosphere under which we can reemerge from what we're doing. And I'd like to offer actually two perspectives on this. One of them is the unfortunate effect of the murder of George Floyd is going to give us a massive amount of data by about June 30th, under which we will have an excellent understanding of what would have happened if we'd been allowed to open venues right now, honestly. The other perspective I'd like to offer is that in the, and I don't mean this pejoratively, but in the oppressive environment under which New York State is going to reemerge, it seems to me that although the work that's being done by ESA and others has been fantastic, and we're all going to use that as a framework moving forward, even if only prophylactically in case something like this should pop up again. But I don't think we're going to be seeing people in venues in stage 4, for example, if there is a risk of communication of this disease that's even showing up in data. I guess what I'm getting at is that we're going to be seeing a whole new perspective in the next month to month and a half. It's unfortunate that a lot of the national artists, because of the infrastructures that they have to deal with nationally, they just can't make these plans for now. In a place like the Riviera Theater that you help us bring, the B-level nationals and more independent acts, we're still looking at operating at almost normal facility by July and certainly into August. And I hope this happens because I've got a bunch of side bets with the people in the industry who think I'm crazy. but the fact of the matter is New York is not going to let people congregate indoors for entertainment purposes until this disease is really not on the radar anymore. So then it's going to be about how comfortable do our customers feel about coming back. And all of these things that are suggested by the ESA and other organizations, we're going to take the ones that make the most sense. We're going to get back to what our moms and dads told us. Wash your hands, cover your face when you sneeze, those kinds of things. We will be sanitizing, certainly, because this is going to linger in people's heads. So we need to do things to make sure that they know we're taking care of them. But truth of the matter is, before the end of the year, we're going to be operating normally, I believe, throughout the entire country. And that's just one man's opinion.
Yes, Chuck, I believe that you are going to be operated. I have no doubt in that, actually. And I also have no doubt that there's a majority of us who are going to see this through, because there's so many people hungry for entertainment. There's so many people wanting to go back, even if it's a new norm. I believe that they want entertainment. And so if, as I always implore people to share your guidelines, share your venue guidelines, show people that you care, and that list all the things that you're doing for them. As an agent, I'm going to list all the things that my artists are going to come in and do for you, as you saw with today's Fairy Tales on Ice, and that we're going to carry our own PPP. We're going to carry our own temperature checks every day, because some of the venues were there for a week at a time. So I think the key is for everybody to talk to each other, follow your state guidelines, and keep each other safe, because that's our responsibility, is keeping our audience safe, keeping our artists safe, and all watching each other's backs, because that's for me the most important thing, is watching each other's backs. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Because I know I've kept you for, it's now 3 o'clock. I'm not saying I'm going anywhere, because I'm going to hang out and chat a little bit. But I usually don't like pushing it past the 1 hour zone. If you have something to say, please put your raise hand button up. Otherwise, I am eventually going to be talking about the email that I sent out this morning about some of my production shows. All 4 of my Zoom industries have been about the industry and COVID and what we could do to help each other. But I'd also like to tell you what my stuff is and how I'm helping out with diminished capacities by doing 2 shows for the price of 1 show, by doing 1 week for the price of 2 days, really cutting prices. And I really hope that all agents do that. And I think that all of the presenters should not be afraid to approach the majors, me, anyone. Please don't be afraid, ask. And if you shall receive, that's great, because you have the power to say no, and you have the power to ask. So don't be afraid, and don't be afraid to call me and say, what do you think? Do you think I should do this? Even if it's not my act, that's what I'm here for, is to help you guys with anything and everything that you possibly have questions on. So I'm going to hang out here for a little bit. And like I said, if anybody else has any topics for next week, please share your topics with me. I promise to research those topics and be able to talk about them next week. And I hope everybody stays safe this week. And I hope things get better for everybody. And I'm just thankful that you're all here and that I'm still in business. So if you need to jump off, you can jump off.
And
Let
don't
me know.
forget to take a knee.
Take a knee. There you go. Yeah. Very important. So next week, please send me your topics. I really would appreciate that. I will be, please answer the surveys. I really would appreciate that. I know sometimes it's a bit of a pain to answer. Someone just mentioned the PPP. The PPP has been changing on a weekly basis, so I wouldn't even read. It changes every week. The rules change. I'm a very big reader of PPP, very much into it. I've helped a lot of people get it. I got it myself. Even if you're self-employed, people think that you can't get it. You can. You just have to have a good creative accountant like I have. If anybody has questions about the PPP, I am really happy to help you. Don't be afraid to go for it. Everybody says, well, I don't want to pay it back. You don't have to pay all of it back, and you may not have to pay any of it back. So you deserve money. You deserve the PPP. You deserve your pandemic unemployment. You deserve things. So I recommend going for what you want and what you need. Saying goodbye to a lot of people. Again, thanks for everybody to participate. Thanks, Todd. Bye. Yep. I'm just looking at, thank you. Yep. Cool.